Therefore, in this lecture, we have discussed the following things. We have discussed what is a structural engineer, what are the different roles. So we have discussed that, and after the discussion, we can say that structural engineers form a very key part in the construction process of any civil engineering structure. So structural engineers have wide range of responsibilities, not least a duty to ensure the safety and durability of the project on which they are working. So if you compare structural engineers with architects who only focus on the appearance, shape, size, and use of the building, structural engineers must solve technical issues and help the architect achieve his or her version of the project. And we have also discussed about the various skills a structural engineer must have. Out of those, we have discussed about the skills he needed to contribute towards the society and also to successfully execute a project. Structural engineers work in offices and they also work in construction sites, or might split their time between both contexts. That means they can devote some time in office and they can devote some time in on the construction sites. And those locations of construction sites may be varied, including they may be in metropolitan areas or rural environments. So depending upon the size of the project, structural engineers may also be required to work long hours in terms of consisting of professional, skilled and semi-skilled workers. Outside the ability to apply principles of mechanics, mathematics and physics to construct a safe, sustainable building, the roles and responsibilities of structural engineers include design. Design means many structural engineers mainly concentrate only the design portion of any civil engineering structure. So structural engineers should be able to factor in the different qualities and strengths delivered by a range of building materials and understand how to incorporate support beams, columns, and foundations in case of a building. So structural engineers must investigate the site thoroughly, and they must carry out survey of the building sites to determine the suitability of the earth or soil condition for the requirements of the upcoming project. Structural engineers must have a very good communication skill. They must have very good interpersonal skills also, because they will be required to coordinate and consult with other members of their projects, including engineers, environmental scientists, architects, and landscape architects. They may also be required to assist government bodies in their own inspections relating to the project. Structural engineers are often responsible for the organization and delivery of materials and equipment for the needs of the construction project. The supervision and management of on-site labor may also be a necessity. To achieve those skills, the structural engineers must be trained to strict standards. Most structural engineering courses require a related undergraduate degree in an engineering discipline. After graduation, structural engineers work towards professional qualification, becoming associate and then chartered members with the Institution of Structural Engineers. Structural engineering courses can be very competitive, and prospective candidates should look for practical experience to increase their knowledge and to bolster their applications. After qualification, workplace experience placements are useful for getting a foot in the door of the industry and developing network contacts. context. So therefore, in this lecture, we have discussed mainly about what is a structural engineer and what are the key aspects, what are the key skills he must have to execute a project properly, and how, what are the purpose of a structural engineer. So I hope all of you have understood about, uh, I hope all of you can clarify your doubt about structural engineer, about his skills, about his requirements, about his purpose. And finally, we can say that the role of a structural engineer is a very key component in the construction process. Okay, so in our next lecture, we will proceed about the planning process before planning process of construction. So before constructing anything, we must investigate the site, and we must have a very a brief survey about the soil condition, and after that only we can plan what will be the what type of structure we can build on that particular site. Okay, so in our next lecture we will study everything about planning process. Okay, and I hope all of you have gained a good knowledge about structural engineers, and I hope I can generate some amount of interest in you to become a structural engineer in your future life. Okay, thank you.